as a humanity are not necessarily meant to have. One is too much free time. Important thing in the business in the world is your people. As long as your people are good, you're golden.
Well, hello, Ibrahim. How are you?
Wonderful. How have you been?
Oh, really good. We have a thunderstorm in the background, so you might hear some booming, and I'm not doing that.
No problem.
Somehow the weather is just going to be a third player in our game today.
The more the merrier. Why not?
Ibrahim Ashmawi, it's exciting to hear more about you. You really have an interesting story that I'm excited to share with our audience. So first things first, you're one of America's leading experts in cost-saving strategies for healthcare practices. And your unique blend of capabilities came from not just you were born in DC, but your Maryland degree in engineering gave you a sort of precision process mind. And then you did a spin through investment banking to get great financial insights, turning your attention to medical practices nationwide for the last 15 years. You can see process improvements, you can see profit improvements, and you uncover millions of dollars for the clients you work with. No wonder they love working with you.
I would hope so, yeah. And it's funny because everybody starts off their life thinking that, you have a plan and you have a path. Mm-hmm. And I found it to be very interesting when you open yourself up to opportunities that deviate from the original plan, mm-hmm. just what kind of outcome that could bring. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I started off, I grew up in Maryland. I had a degree from Michigan, another one from Harvard, and I worked in investment banking, even though my mm-hmm. degree was in engineering. Mm-hmm. That opportunity simply presented itself. Mm-hmm. And I decided, let me just go with it. So by doing that, mixing engineering and finance, again, that was not the plan at all. I went into engineering to become an engineer. Mm-hmm. But that is what helped me then when I later worked in engineering field and medicine, medical devices and all that. It's just an extension of engineering there.
The complement to it, yes.
Exactly. But you look at things from a very financial perspective because that was a lot of my background in my first job as well. Mm-hmm. So definitely something that I didn't plan for, but it became a niche that you can imagine, as you said, many people are seeking, this kind of analysis, this kind mm-hmm. of work that we do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are kind of unaware that it even exists. When you talk about doctors, mm-hmm. people think doctors make so much money. Well, why would they need profit? Why would they need to save money? Mm-hmm. And they're kind of, unless you're a doctor, you're unaware, first of all, just how much debt they have, student yes. debt and otherwise, yes. and how much they're paying for malpractice insurance and how many issues there.
There are so many cost pressures in healthcare. It's not funny. And right. healthcare is one of those industries that's going through really dramatic revision. I mean, there's a sea change. I mean, it wasn't just the pandemic, but the pandemic kind of poured gasoline on that.
Right.
And so coming out of the pandemic, I mean, telecare, telehealthcare, traveling nurses, it's being reformatted. And if you look at, I think it's 25% of the C-suite in hospitals has changed post-COVID. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's kind of a revolving door while people try to get reacquainted with the new landscape in healthcare. So right. What I love that you do, I'm an executive coach and I run a little small business myself, and the businesses that I work with, when you think about hiring someone like you sort of brace yourself for, okay, then you're going to have to add this staffer, or you're going to have to buy this subscription software. And then not only is this social media manager someone you're going to pay, but you need to add budget too. And you're just like, what is my going in expense to have this big difference in my company? You're weighing right. and balancing. You don't ask your clients to hire any extra staff. You don't ask them for extra costs or extra mm-hmm. software. And so it seems hard to believe. Wait a minute, you're just going to use that precision engineering process mind and that investment banker financial savvy, and you're going to uncover hidden profits in my... Really? Are you really going to do that?
Right, exactly. There are 3 hurdles that we found when we first speak to a potential client. Mm-hmm. Number one, how much is this going to cost me, right? Like exactly like you said, what you mentioned is number one, and that's definitely the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
When we're trying to push guys, we're trying to save you money, not make you spend money.
Yes.
Number two, well, this is going to affect the quality of my care. My patients are my number one priority,
Of
and I
course.
don't want to become a worse doctor.
Right.
And we pay so much attention to that, in that this cannot affect your quality of care. If anything, your quality is becoming better because it's becoming more efficient. You're
Yes.
able to see on more clients. You're able to spend more time with them and give them better care. And
Mm-hmm.
the third one, which is really interesting, is that a lot of doctors feel, and this is, I think, true of all entrepreneurs, they feel very strongly about their people and their
Yes.
team and their
Yes.
labor. And they have this fear that, are you going to make me get rid of my team? And my team is like my family.
Yes. Yes.
And to date, I'm very proud to say that we've never recommended letting go of any staff members.
Mm-hmm.
However, this rubs some people the wrong way, but hopefully I'll be able to explain it well. We look at staff the same way we look at software or devices or other things.
Mm-hmm.
They should be actively making revenue for the company, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
true of any business. That's the reality of any business. So if they're not actively making money for the company, how can we make them more efficient to
Yeah.
optimize their time and
Yeah.
optimize their actions and optimize even where they are in the office, for example, to be, more beneficial to the overall organization?
I appreciate that when someone begins to say things like process improvements, that there are efficiencies here.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're going to make me do it different. I'm going to have to learn something, but we've always done it this way. And so you see the profit that's falling off the table. You see kind of the cracks where it's leaking out. And you could be offering more to those clients, maybe a better benefits package to your staff if what they were already doing was more profitable, with no other changes, without having to, add 25% more patients and talk to all of their patients for 7 minutes instead of 12 minutes or whatever it is that they're trying to do. They march through their week. And so, I think you have to probably show me, when you go in and talk to clients, that this process improvement you will be happy with. Your life is easier. Your patients are happier. Your doctor is less stressed. And
Right.
so there's net improvements in this. And by the way, you're making more money.
Well, put yourself in their shoes. If you're a doctor and that's all you've done for so many years, right? And you go through the ringer when it comes to med school, right? And then you realize that, hey, I'm not making enough money. You don't know why, you don't know where, but you know that you're not making enough to sustain the business.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that any logical doctor is going to go to, and I can't blame them for this, is, well, I need to make more revenue. Right? In reality, they don't have a revenue problem, they have a discipline problem, but right, let's just go with it. So I have to see more patients. What does that mean? It's exactly what you mentioned. Every patient is not going to get 20 minutes, they're going to get 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all experienced going to doctors and having them rush through appointments because we know they want to go on to the next one.
Yes.
And we may leave very dissatisfied with the service we got, feeling like, well, that was completely pointless, right? So that's the first thing I'm trying to make them see, is revenue is not the issue. Growing your business in that way is not the issue. And when they actually sit down to be strategic and want to invest, they invest more money, which we don't want them to do, but they start saying, well, maybe it's a marketing problem. I'm going to do Google ads and YouTube ads and blah, blah, blah. And marketing can become like a drug. That can become very addicting, and you start looking for social media hits, especially the offices that have social media platforms, right?
Dopamine is a thing. Dopamine.
Oh yeah,
is a thing.
yeah, absolutely. Who's not a victim of that? And you can get lost in it. Look, dopamine for personal use, obviously, I don't recommend it. Right, getting the social media hits is not a good way to go through life. But to then require it for your business, it becomes scary, because then you start making decisions based on that dopamine hit, and it's emotional. But you think, well, this is just for the business. So what ends up happening? You spend thousands of dollars on marketing that wasn't really the problem.
Well, you try to get rankings, or you try to be in competition, when really, it's so funny when you have a leaky boat. and you're pouring more water in it, the volume going through the leaks just increases. You have to plug the leaks. The process improvements where the profit is just disappearing through the cracks is the first thing. And
Right.
I would, love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations once they've organized themselves
Hmm.
with better, cleaner processes and AI. And there are tools around scheduling and telehealth and, different support mechanisms. It's a very technological field, healthcare. And
Yeah.
so there are going to be benefits to use tools like that. But to have a pretty easy day, to feel like Mrs. Johnson, who comes in, got to say the three things she wanted to remember to tell the doctor, because she got 20 minutes or
Yeah.
25 minutes instead of 12. That's a very positive feeling about the work that you're doing. And it's not just oil changes, it's not just painting the house or putting on a new roof. This is healthcare. I mean, it's people's, how they feel every day. So you want to be doing that as well as possible, that delivery of that. It's so critical. So I love
Right.
that you're contributing to that for the medical practices who have the good sense to work with you.
That's the hope, is that we're contributing, right? And this kind of goes back to just my overall philosophy of we're all here for a purpose, right? And if you're not making a positive impact in the world, it's not necessarily that you're making a negative one, but you may not be making any impact at all.
Mhm.
And on your last day, do you want to feel like you
Mhm.
left the world a little bit better than how you came into it?
Yes.
Right. And if we can do that through our professions, through our hobbies, through everything, 100%, that's what we should be doing. So if we're helping doctors give better care,
Yes.
then that's something we can be proud of.
Right. Downstream, all those people are getting better care. It's a better experience for the staff, for the patients, for the doctors. And burnout is real in healthcare.
Right.
So if you can defer burnout, for everybody involved, that's better still too. And so I want to roll back a little bit. You call Orange County home now, but your ancestors are from Egypt, and you had a chance to take the family back there this summer. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my family is originally from Alexandria, Egypt.
Wow.
People think Egypt and they immediately think Cairo and the pyramids and the pharaohs, but our ancestry in Alexandria actually goes back to Alexander the Great
Oh
and
my.
Cleopatra. Yeah, so more on the Macedonian Greek side, which is really interesting. A lot of really rich history and culture there. And I haven't been back in many, many, many years. So finally took the kids
Mm-hmm.
to get connected with some of their roots as well. And it's interesting because I'm born here, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm as American as apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
And when you visit another country, especially one that you have roots from, you try to see, okay, well, what from this culture can I take on that's positive, and
Mm-hmm.
what do I want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that whenever you travel to any country, even if it's not necessarily from your ancestry. So that was one of the main things we were concentrating on. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what is good in this culture that you can maybe take on? Certain things like a lot of family values, you can imagine. Respect for elders is really a big thing. Their hospitality is a huge thing. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the kinds of things that, the kids were seeing for the first time.
That's really wonderful. And family values reminds me to have you tell the story about your second business, which you do, and that's in the literature you write and in the cinema that you produce. And it kind of started with family movie night. I think with you and your brother growing up, your father would pause the movie. I imagine
Right.
it's a VHS tape or
Oh,
beta
yeah.
or something. It's old school technology, and say, what are they trying to tell us here? He was communicating values on family movie night. And
Hmm.
I'm sure he had no idea that you guys would go on to make movies that included those values.
Yeah, yeah, and it's we're very, very young. We're talking 5 and 6. So really, we're struggling to understand the plot of the film, and it's family movie night, so it's fun stuff.
Mhm.
But it became a regular thing
Mhm.
where he would always pause in very specific moments, and like you said, VHS, so the tape is jumping and all. And guys, what is the filmmaker trying to say here?
Mhm.
And for a 5, 6 year old, the concept that there's a filmmaker to begin with
Mhm.
is a new concept. I'm seeing the actors and I'm seeing the characters,
Mhm.
but to think, somebody wrote what these people said.
Mhm.
And this person got out of bed to deliver a message. In most cases, of course, you're
Sure.
always going to have your just fun films or the pure
Sure.
entertainment, but even those can have hidden messages as well.
Yes.
So you need to be aware of the message, even if you agree with it,
Mhm.
because you need to be aware that someone's trying to tell you something.
Yes.
And if you're not aware of it, that
Mhm.
means that they've successfully told you without you recognizing it or realizing it, which is subconscious, which is something you don't want.
Mhm.
And that became something in our heads for forever. And we're just, it's a hobby for us. We
Mhm.
write novels and we make films, and some of those films are out there. But
Mhm.
we always said that, hey, if we're going to do this, even just for fun, every single thing we say has to go back to our purpose, which we have in our professions and with our families and our lives and with our friends. It's got to
Mhm.
have a good purpose. If you're not
Mhm.
going to have a good message, it's not really worth it.
So I have to wonder, every now and then, do you stop the movie you're watching at home and tell your kids, what are they trying to tell us here? Do you do
I
the same sort of thing?
I do. And it's interesting because it's obviously there's generational differences, right? We're talking about decades of difference here. So when my dad was doing it, we'd be like, oh my God, yes, I can see it now. It's when I do it with my kids, it's more like, all right, we get it, Dad. Can we just can we watch the film?
Well, I think kids today are so sophisticated so early. They're familiar with gaming environments, they're familiar
Right.
with digital technology, they're familiar with all manner of stories and the big screen, the little screen. Yeah, they grow up faster and they're more sophisticated.
Yeah, I mean, is that a good thing though? Are they truly aware of the impact that all of these different medias are having on them?
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. When someone was telling me that they met a 9-year-old girl who was convinced she was going to be an Instagram influencer, and then said privately to me, should parents be encouraging you to do that as like, this is what I'm going to do when I grow up? I mean, you want kids to think I'll be the Michael Jordan, or I'll be this, Travis Kelsey, or,
Right.
whoever the stars are of sports. And then you say, well, are you going to be 6'6", or, are you going to be able to bench 400 pounds? Or, there's some critical factors that may not appear for you as you grow up. So you might play sports in high school, and
Right.
then fingers crossed college, and then one half of the 1% of all those people play professional sports. So
Right.
you can let kids aim at things, but Instagram influencer doesn't seem to have the same goal-oriented idea. So I do think sometimes the influences are not as positive today.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really big thing for the business that I'm working in,
Mm-hmm.
because if you look at the newer generation of doctors,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they're coming into the workforce now. Let's be very honest and blunt about this. A lot of them don't read ever, right?
Yep.
And they have difficulty putting together a good email, so they're not very good at writing either.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're really not good at having conversations face to face with somebody.
Yeah.
So where are these people getting their information on how to run a business? Now, they went to med school, so they know medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But what they don't know is how to run a business, how to read a P&L, how to be a leader, or any of these things. So what
Yes.
do? They go to social media to learn. Now, we're on social media. We're talking on social media right now. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of wonderful information on social media. How do you tell the good ones from the hacks? Because right now the hacks have replaced principles,
Mm-hmm.
and social media is replacing strategy.
Yes.
And a lot of the modern entrepreneurs are avoiding these truths, and they're completely unaware of it. So they're learning business from people on YouTube entirely. So what are you going to find on YouTube? You're going to find someone to tell you most important thing in the business in the world is marketing. Then
Mm-hmm.
you find somebody else to say most important thing in the business in the world is your people. As long as your people are good, you're golden. Other people will say, well, it's your brand, not your company brand, but your personal brand. Start
Right.
building that. How is anyone supposed to follow all this and find out what's real and what isn't?
Well, and I think one of the family values from your culture, if you have respect for your elders, is you get older mentors. You have people who've been around the block a few times.
Right.
So I was talking with someone the other day, and they're looking to do a fundraise for their startup. And I said, you need some mentors who've been through 2 crashes. There was no money to raise.
Right.
And, they got their startup done with, string and duct tape. And then we're in the good times too. So, you need someone who's done the laps, right? Who can give you some perspective about, think about this. You haven't come across it yet, but it's out there. And so the service that you provide is so valuable if they're trying to figure out what are the mechanics of how do I operate my business. You actually can share those mechanics. You can help them set them up correctly. And, we're on a YouTube channel, and I'm in my rookie year as a YouTuber. And I get some advice from people on YouTube. Like some of the number one channels on YouTube are how to be on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So here's one person who gives this advice, and he says 10-minute videos on a specific topic are Google algorithm friendly. So do 10-minute videos that answer a question, how to do something, and you'll have, great viewers on your channel. 7 days later, 10 days later, it's like 10-minute videos are over. This is the new strategy. And I'm like, doggone it.
Yeah.
The month hasn't even gone by, and you're telling me the advice I just heard from you is not valid advice anymore. So
right.
You have to have some kind of discernment in life. It's going to be more important than ever. And I wonder your thoughts about this. You model for us, like in our AI revolution that, like it or not, is happening all around us. We'll have some more free time. Someone's going to or an algorithm is going to tidy up our calendar and do our books and vacuum our floors, and drone armies are going to fight wars. Whatever the world changing is happening, humans are going to have more free time.
Yeah.
Most of that will be in creative pursuits. But in the AI revolution, garbage in is still garbage out. And so if they're pulling data from fake research papers, or they're pulling data from people who've published things on the web for marketing reasons,
right?
They don't know what they're talking about. And that's part of the database that AI has given me an answer for. You have to have discernment. You've just got to have discernment, because deep fakes will make you think this is somebody but it's actually not. And so you trust and being able to tell what's real and not real.
Yeah.
Really key component of the future.
Well, it's two challenges, right? One is, like you're saying, the discernment, you being a victim of everybody else's usage of AI. And that goes from how they're going to be analyzing your medical records to how they're going to be selling you things. That's all over. And if you don't have the perspicacity to be asking a lot of questions and digging into things, then you're just going to become a victim, right? And then the other side is, well, how are you going to utilize it? Yes. Because if you don't utilize it, 100% you're just going to become a passive user, right? In this life, you're either a doer or a follower. You're either a creator or a consumer. That's just the reality of things. And now with so much time being spent that's now going to go away, you're going to have a lot more free time. How do you find your place in the new world? And this is where respect to elders always comes back, and it becomes very, very important. You have to go back in history a little bit. Yes. People went through the Industrial Revolution, right? And the number one thing they thought of was, I'm going to lose my job. We're all going to lose our jobs to machines. And lo and behold, people didn't lose their jobs. They just had to change their jobs. They had to find out what the new task is going to be, what the new skill is going to be. Similarly with the information age. And we barely were able to go through the information age fully when that transformed now into the AI age. If you are not very conscious of what is going on and realize that there is a new revolution coming, and you do not know where your place is going to be in this, you're going to end up being a consumer. And by that, I mean, we can get specific. It's about people who are going to be sitting on social media, watching other people's content all day, every day, only pausing to get a very quick 9 to 5 in some job just to sustain their living, and all their living it's consuming more people's content. Right.
I really think the values conversation is more important than ever. And I just, applaud you for including that in the cultural and literary contributions you're making. because as people have personal values that can guide them about what can I do with this extra time that's useful? What helps me feel like I'm flourishing?
Right.
What do I have time now to explore that I didn't have time to explore? And maybe we won't have 9 to 5s anymore. Maybe we're going to have 12 to 3s. I don't even know, what the world is going to look like.
Yeah.
But something useful and rewarding should be done with that time, because the human condition is not changing. The world around us is changing. But that values discussion, I think, is going to be more important than ever.
Yeah. I'm a true believer that there are two things that we as a humanity are not necessarily meant to have.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're about to have them, and we have to be very careful. One is too much free time.
Yeah.
We operate well when we are under pressure. We operate well when we have a purpose, when we are driven. That's when we create, and that's what's created the world around us and the society we live in. That's what built this country, right? Was
Right.
that feeling of I want to create a society, and that's wonderful. With too much free time, what are you going to do with that free time? It becomes very dangerous. And the other thing that now we, again, have, whether we like it or not, is access to communicate to too many people. Back in the day, you wanted to talk to people, you'd stand in the town square and you'd say something. You have to be very careful what you say, or else you'd be seen the wrong way, and then people wouldn't listen to you anymore. Now anybody can talk to millions of people. And how much care and effort are we putting into thinking about how we want to represent ourselves into the world?
And they say the internet's forever. I imagine AI-powered internet is also forever.
Yeah.
And so the mistakes you make in your 20s, trying to be hip or cool, or trying to get a lot of clicks, may come back to haunt you in your 30s or your 40s. And so
Right.
we already find people whose college applications are declined, or job applications, their job offers are revoked because they've done some kind of background check and found, whatever the modern equivalent is of the bad thing to say. And those, trends will change, and you can be caught off where that was kind of cool with your bros, on the college team, and very uncool at 30 now that you're trying to get, that big promotion in a new
Right.
role. So, it's more important than ever to kind of lean on who do you want to be as a person? How do you represent yourself in the world, to be thoughtful about those things? And yeah, it's an exciting time, but also
It is.
comes with some warnings. We need a little warning label.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you deal also with the flip opposite of that? There's how you put yourself out there to millions of people, but also how do you filter through, if at all, other millions of people's information and what they have to say? Should you be consuming this much information and this much data from this many people that you don't even know? Right. And I'll never forget this. I was very, very young, so don't judge this too harshly, but I was really young. It was in the beginning of Facebook. I was one of those first people on Facebook where you needed to have an @edu.
.edu.
Yeah, email address. And I got on it, and all Facebook was at that time was actually sharing classes with other people and sharing information on classes. At least in my university, that's what it was, the University of Michigan. And I remember once I was having some debate about some political thing with somebody back and forth. And I'll never forget this. I was at Disneyland with my newborn child, and it's late at night, and I'm sitting there arguing. This is really a long time ago, until I realized, wait a second, what am I doing? I don't even know who this person is. I've never met this person. And here I am arguing with somebody that I don't even know over something that doesn't matter to any of us. Why am I doing this? And it was in that moment that I closed my account on the spot, and I said, I can't do this. You have to be really conscious of these kinds of things, or else it's a complete abyss. I
think I've heard people say, I had to ask this person, is this your actual response to this, or is this a chat GPT or a Grok response? This doesn't sound like you. Where people are researching, how do I say this thing? Because we have a real lack in social skills and social manners. They want to send a text message and an emoji instead of have a face-to-face conversation. And our emerging leaders, in the corporate world, culturally too, You can't get ahead just quoting fun movie lines. You actually have to learn how to interact with people. So, well, do you have some advice as we move forward, embrace the AI revolution, find a purposeful way to explore this free time that's going to come along? Any thoughts? And two, for our kids, you're a dad raising kids, to be thoughtful about navigating these uncertain times that are so filled with promise, but also some warnings. There might be some galleys in there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a true believer that every single person is born with some kind of gift.
Yeah.
And that you spend the first 20 years of your life experimenting different things, trying to find out what meshes best with your personality, and you find what your gift is. And you have to find what your gift is, because then for the next 20 years, you're going to be working on that gift and enhancing that skill and that practice. And then you're going to spend the rest of your life using that gift to help the world. And if you got to 67 years old and you haven't figured out what your gift is, that's fine. Then you figure it out then, right? And you spend the rest of your time working on that and using it. If you don't know that gift, then you don't have a purpose, because the purpose comes from that gift. And so if you don't have a purpose, that's when you're not going to know what to do with your every single day. And that's the people, again, who wake up and they go to their job, and then when they come back, they have to go to the bar and get completely wasted and lost, because they don't want to spend a moment to pause and truly think about, wow, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What is my every single day, and what's the purpose of all this? They're too scared to address those kinds of questions because they don't have that purpose. But if you have your gift, you have your purpose, and you're guided by your values, that in itself is bliss.
A happy life awaits.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Well, it's been delightful to talk with you, Ibrahim, and to have people be invited to explore the Golden Prophets group, if you're in the healthcare space, the medical space. And then also, as we get the information below in the show notes, how to find the cultural, contributions that you've made as well. So keep on keeping on. So I'm really happy for the contributions you're making.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. Thank you for the invitation to speak with you.
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful to introduce you to our audience.
Thank you so much.
Okay. See everybody next time.